Blog Talk Radio.
To the world, I am writing this letter begging you to sit up and take note. I am a nothing. I am a nobody, a very small fish in an ocean, but hear this. I am a South African, a white South African, a mother and a wife, and my people are dying. We have been begging for help for 20 years. Our women are being raped. Our men are tortured. Our babies are raped and burnt alive. My people are dying. Would this be okay in your country? Would your government allow this systematic slaughter? Does your president sing of killing you? Are you being refused employment because of the color of your skin? Are your people being forced into squatter camps that are not even fit for animals to live on? Why is this okay to the world out there? Is it because you condone this genocide? Do we as a God-loving, hard-working people deserve this? Are you misinformed, or do you refuse to see this absolute injustice to a nation that has been disarmed and cannot defend themselves against millions, let alone the world? I have seen letter upon letter, parents begging for help from the United Nations, the United States government, Canada, and many more, but still nothing is being done. The time has come for us as a people to find out who will be there to save us, because alone we will not be able to. I am asking, no, I am begging you, world, please, please, save our babies.
Now that truly is a voice from South Africa. That's a mother, a woman, and she's white. You know, it makes me think, do they have any rights? Now, if that was in America, I could answer that with a wide, broad answer, yes. You know, I had a lot to say about this program today, and for the gentleman that's coming on. But I got some news today, and I must address it. One of the things that, my president, I call him Bozo the Clown. Your president is worse than a Bozo the Clown. He's the Joker. You know, remember, I don't know if you guys in Africa had that little thing, little box, and it pop goes the weasel, and it comes out. That's your president. He's a jack-in-the-box clown. I mean, you just never know what the hell you guys are going to get one day from the next. And every time the little thing spins around, good God, what he comes up with. What am I talking about? Well, you're jack-in-the-box clown. I don't even know where to begin with this guy. He wants to, I guess what happened was, I'm just going to cut it short. I didn't know that, I guess the ANC's 103 or whatever you want to call it, birthday, it was a couple of days ago. And the Jack in the Clown, I'm sorry, he's a jack-in-the-box clown, was in front of 40,000 cheering, whatever you want to call them. I can't call them a congregation because that would mean they have some sense of decency, and right now I just can't see that they have it. And they were shouting and hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo, ha-ha, like a bunch of beasts in a field. It was like they were at a football rally almost. The only thing they were chanting, though, which is kind of scary, is chanting. They were chanting some horrible racist chants. Now, they were talking about the death of the ancestors of the head of the guy who came, the spirit of Van Rambach. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? I mean, you can't even stay in the near future. You got to dig some way back way in the Phoebe land. I'm telling you, he's jack-in-the-box, man. You better get that little wheel going. And pop goes the weasel, because that's what he is to me. He's incredible. And I guess they were excited about him, for a lack of term. And I guess he decided to get a witch doctor. Now, I thought they were Christians. I'm sorry. If you are a Christian, what in the world are you doing with a witch doctor? Sorry, when you deal with witch doctors, you're dealing with the dark forces, not good forces, dark, which means evil, which means Satan. Sorry, call a spade, baby. And I guess he called him for exorcism. I didn't know that the witch doctors actually believe in exorcism. I thought they believe in taking over someone. So that right there tells me there's a misenchanting of that part. To get rid, I want to make sure, get rid of the spirit of this man. I guess what he's trying to say to all whites is that he wants you dead. Let's just cut to the chase. He wants all of you, simply one word, dead, murdered, killed, whatever comes first. He wants you off the land, even though he wasn't there and didn't live there and wasn't even a part of him. He lived someplace else, him and his tribe. Just saying. Know your history, back it up. But the witch doctor called whites packstayers of South Africa. Colonists. You know, that's another word. If you ever hear someone say that, that's another word, Western, it's another word of saying white. Anglo-Saxons. You should really check that out, who's being called that, and find out who's prosecuting you over it, because it turns out they're not really white. I just think you need to check it out for yourselves. But let's get back on task. So they want you out of the country by any means necessary. Okay. So he gets a witch doctor to come in, does a little chant, does a little thing, does a little dance, look like a hooba hooba haba haba. But does he not know that God's power is all-reaching? Does he not know that we can rebuke the witch doctor? Does he not know that God is all-omniscient and that all we got to do as a nation is pray? That's it. We don't have to pray. We don't have to just rebuke him and his spirit. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. How you like me now, witch doctor? I don't believe in that humble-bumble stuff. And trust me, you don't want to go this direction. Now, just made that loud and clear. Moving right on. I want to get to the hate of this. Then he went on to say, how long must we allow whites to hold our land? But the government owns 50% of the land in South Africa, and only 10% of it's owned by whites. So my question is, if they own 50% and only 10% is owned by the whites, okay, where's the other 40%? Oh, could that be the Chinese who's the new black? I don't know. Could be a possibility. Hope not. Just saying. Who's the other 40%? If only 10% is white, where's the other 40? Just, throw something out there for you to chew on till our guest arrives. And then he went on, he ended up by singing, "Bring Me My Machine Gun." Now, in America, we're just like, okay, Second Amendment. But I don't think that's what he had in mind. The President Zuma's hate speech at a political rally, whites caused all the problems in South Africa. Where have we heard that speech before? I know, Louis Farrakhan, white little devils, white blue-eyed devils, everything's on the white man, white man, white man, white man. No due to their own self. I mean, the blacks have never caused any problems. They've never raped, they've never murdered, they never killed. Oh, my God, they're just model citizens. And I like to know, have you lived in a black neighborhood lately? Because if you believe that crap, let me sell you Compton, Watts. How about living in Detroit? Let me just sell you the property so you can live there. Just thought you should know. And the crowd started exercising the spirit of Rhinebeck, praising the singers, telling the crowds at Zuma's ANC rally. This is insane, my friends. This is insane. But let me tell you the outcome of that. The outcome was 3 murders of farmers. It was the 103rd, okay, she said the 103rd anniversary. 3 murders took place. This is exercising their rights. This is the crowd praising the murder, the killing of a Dutch Boer, the farmer. Killing the people who pretty much feeds them because they haven't learned how to farm them themselves. When is America going to wake up and see that this is happening here? It's amazing when we don't get the picture too clear. But I want to bring something really home to you. And this is this. I wondered about my show today. James Kemp. Can't wait for him to come on. And I thought to myself, would I talk to him about? The town that he lives in Orania. Then I started thinking about towns, cities, local cities. I started thinking about where I live and why I live here. You know why I live where I live? Safety. I don't have to worry about gun violence. I don't have to worry about rapes and murders, robbing banks, police calls. I don't have to worry about any of that. You don't really hear it that often. It's nice. It's quiet. It's safe. Don't have to worry about break-ins all that often. There's not really any crime here. Now, my cousin lives in the same area, and she saw some graffiti. You know, the first thing she thought, oh my God, there goes the neighborhood. She's lived in that town and raised her children for the last 20 years that have never been anything other than a minor traffic. And yet, why? Because the inner city people want to move out to the suburb. The suburbians don't want anything to do with the inner city because they just bring their violence with them. So they move here, bringing their violence, and then we move closer, going out even farther to get away from them. Do we call that racism? Because we want to be in a safe neighborhood, not around violent people? Rich people do it. They live in neighborhoods that you can't even fathom. It's not done by color. It's done by economics. You better bet your butt. Even a black man said it best. When I become wealthy, I'm not going to live in a poor neighborhood so they can rob me. I'm going to live in an area where I am safe. My property is safe. I'm safe. Is he racial? Because he doesn't want to live in an area? This town in South Africa, I can't wait to ask him. Because the problem is, for me, is that I want to live somewhere where I'm safe. I don't have to worry about my kids. The kids can actually play in the street, and they're safe. See, I don't see anything wrong with that. Because this community, I thought about it, is the kind of community that I would want, but different. Because I want a community that's similar. What do I mean by that? I want to build a Christian community. You heard me. I don't care what color you are, but you must be a Christian. I am not allowing Muslims in my neighborhood. All I want is a Christian town with the same patriotism, the same right to, the same mind thought, where my kids are safe and patriots and the Constitution, and they believe in the same things. See, I don't see anything wrong with that. Actually, we probably get along better. Let the liberals live where they live. I don't want them living where I live. I don't want to hear them, matter of fact. But it seems like the liberals are not happy until they move in conservative neighborhoods and they bring their garbage with them to tear us down, to take over the small towns. Now, I asked a lady that was retiring in California. I thought it was really funny. I said, why are you moving to Texas? You being so liberal. Because I can afford to live there on my retirement. I could get land. See, they love our concept, but they're going to take their ideas to mess up our town, to bring their laws and their restrictions. This is why I say kick them all out. Put them back in California. Let them live where they messed up already. And that brings us back to this town. Is there anything wrong with them having their own town? I want my own town, my own water supply, my own electricity, independent from the outside sources. You know, in California, there is such a bill that's going on to separate from California, not separate from the United States. Don't get that wrong. It's to separate from California, because these people are tired of the liberals, and they want to separate. They don't want to pay taxes for the poor people. They only want to pay taxes for the things they want for their neighborhoods, to build their communities. And you know what? I would pack up and move there anytime. You know why? Because it's going to be a hell of a lot safer. That's why I said I don't see anything wrong with that. And the people who do, I need you to ask yourself this question. Do you want to live in that bad neighborhood? Where do you live? You're so willing to condemn. If you want to live, you know, I got my black brothers, oh, we want to live in our own neighborhood. Fine. Knock yourself out. But why should I have to pay for that neighborhood? I don't live there. That's the point. If you want to live where you live, then you should be able to pay for where you live. Why should my money go there? That's why you see counties wanting to separate from California, because some of these rich counties are tired of their taxpayer money going to garbage. This is why I'm interested in this little town. I want to know how it got started. I want to know how they made it grow, how they got out of the red. I mean, they farm their own land, they eat their own food, they have their own restaurants. I want to know. All America should want to know, and how they made it prosperous, how their schools are. I mean, you should be in awe of that, because I am. And this little bitty community is doing that. Wow. On the other hand, you have the Joker. Pop goes the weasel. That man, out of a box. Go ahead, people. I want you to get your little box. I want you to get your little thing and start playing the music. Pop goes the weasel. Let's see what he pulls out of his ass today. 3 murders of farmers. These are the very farmers that feed the country. They are the essence of the ground. No one's talking about that. No one's talking about their deaths, how it's going to affect their family, how it's going to affect their children, their grandchildren, the wives. No one cares, because the simple skin color. Skin color. When are we going to wake up to the reality that the skin color should never define who you are? Because if you cut my skin off, the thing you're going to see is muscles, veins, blood, and then we all look alike. Cut off the skin and we all look alike. You wouldn't be able to tell who we are. So why is it so important to the president to make sure that everyone knows the color of your skin, to know that this is your land? I got a problem with that. Ain't none of it yours. It's all God's. You don't own anything. You're just living on borrowed land, my friend. The air you breathe, not yours. The water you drink, not yours. It was provided by God. So what gives you the right to tell someone else that has lived there over 400 and 500 years, and sometimes longer, when it was nothing? There was no field. There was nothing but stones. There was no farms there when these people got there. Just like when the Sooners came through Oklahoma, there was nothing there. And yet, look what America have accomplished. Were there horrible things? Yes. Did they do horrible things? Yes. You tell me what nation hasn't done horrible things to each other. Chinese done horrible things to Chinese. Germans done horrible things to Germans. Russians done horrible things to Russians. French done horrible things to French. Hell, look at Africa. Perfect example. Black on black crime is worse there. They just kill each other. You got Somalians killing and starving each other. You got the Boko Haram killing blacks because they're blacks, but they're Christians. Ooh, let's just kill them. No one seems to care about that. They don't seem to want to stop that. All the different tribes that's there killing each other, no one cares to stop that at all. To my black brothers in America, you're so African eccentric. Why aren't you and your Black Panthers movement, why aren't you stopping that crime? Is it because you don't give a damn about them? Because the blacks are not oppressed? Do their lives don't matter to you? It only matters because there's a white person involved? See, color. Color. This is how crazy it is. It's all about the simple of your skin. And for me, it's never about that. Because when I can just look at the color of a man's skin and not the context of his character, I cease to exist. I want to know. This man is trying to help a black tribe, yes, to do exactly what his town has done. Think about that. This man who has his own town, his community that's thriving, is trying to help a black tribe do the same. Wow. But you got that Jack in the Box guy going dun 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 dun. Pop goes. He would probably want to kill the whole town. Oh, let me take that back. He would kill the whole town. See, I don't see him doing anything for his own people. I see him building mansions over here with the money. I see Chinese coming in and taking over. And for all my brothers out there that think the Chinese is the answer, you just wait. Because if you only knew and understood the Chinese culture, you're going to find out how much they really hate you. You're going to find out how much, and if you look any farther than Saudi Arabia, how much they hate black Muslims. They sell black Muslims on the market. See, when you don't open your eyes to the whole picture and you see only one color, you don't see the big narrative. And that's wrong. Now, my friend's trying to get here, and, you got to love it. Everything and everyone has tried to keep me from interviewing this person. I know why. It doesn't bother me. Because I have talked about having a town similar. And when I talked about where I wanted to live, when I moved back to California, and I can tell you it wasn't in Compton and Watts in L.A., and I can tell you when my cousin and I drive through that neighborhood, first thing we do is lock the doors. Now, if the neighborhood was that safe, in a black neighborhood that is, why would you do that? Why would Martin Luther King Boulevard be the most dangerous neighborhood when he was the most peaceful man? This is why people separate. This is why they want to live in suburbia where it's safe, where they don't have to worry about those things. And I don't have a problem with that because I live in one of those areas. And I feel safe. You got to ask yourself, what kind of neighborhood would you like to live in? Would you like to live in a community that's filled with patriotism and they honor our veterans and they honor the Constitution and same religion, Christianity, no matter if it's Catholic or Mormon or whatever, just we believe in Jesus. And it's small, we have the same education and the same goals for our kids and their safety. There's no one trying to rob or kill or seek or destroy. Wouldn't you want that type of neighborhood? Where your kids can roam through your town without having to guard yourself. Someone's going to kidnap my kid. Oh, there's harm. Or you have big wire fences up to keep all the bad people out. Wouldn't you want to live in a community that's safe? Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that the answer is yes, I do. Yes, I can. And yes, I will. I will provide that for my family. It's always amazing to me, how long sometimes, the devil is a lie. He doesn't want, or certain things don't want to come on, like they have trouble always in South Africa, of getting people on one way or another. It's always a catch-22 with my show. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Because what matters most is you. Now, I did a video for the lady and her program because I heard her voice. That was the first thing you heard. Her voice of asking the world, is it okay to you that you take a baby, wrap it in newspaper, and put it in the oven, and turn on the fire and watch it burn? Is it okay? Is it okay to tie a man down and rape his 4-year-old daughter, killing her womb, her spirit, and urinating all over her, drowning her in the urination, cutting her to where her body is unrecognizable? Is it okay? Is it okay to take the same little boy, because she was a twin, rape the little boy, cut off his genitals, stuff him in his mouth, cut him, stab him, take out his heart and eat it? Is that okay with you? And the father, the only thing he could do is watch. You see, that's not okay with me. It's just not. And anyone who can say that that's okay can live as a barbarian, but he's not a Christian. He'll never be a Christian. So he's a heathen to me. He doesn't even belong to the human race. But these are the things that happen and go on in South Africa, and that the news in Hollywood refuse to report on. These are the things that this man, John Kemp, is keeping his community from. That's what he's keeping his community from, that type of violence. That's why they have farms. They farm their own land and produce their own food. Would you trust a government that would say kill all the whites? Would you trust a president that said there's nothing good but a dead white? Would you trust a government that would put out such a horrible thing? Understanding that the percentage of whites in South Africa, I think it's only 5 million at most. 5 million at most. And yet, possibility of 50 million Africans. Would you be okay with those numbers if you were surrounded? It makes you wonder. You know, when you think about these things, you know, it hurts my heart. Absolutely just rips my heart out to think of this. Why? Because the fact that these people were white. Now I know you got blacks going, what about apartheid? What about apartheid? Maybe you should really read about apartheid. Maybe you should read how it came about. Maybe you should read who wanted it. Did you ever think that the Africans wanted to live separate than the whites? They wanted their own schools. They wanted their own neighborhoods. No, you see, you don't think of that. But you should. Oh, but you should think of it. Why? Because I don't think any of us got it right. None of us lived there. And the people who did live there and got out, they're not telling you the truth. You know, you got all these movie stars that are going around, and there's nothing wrong with adopting black babies. Trust me, I don't have a problem with it. You got Oprah. She has a South African all-black school for girls. Think about that. Is that racism? And that if a white person would do that, they would say that was racism. Why? When there are only 5 million of them. Why would that be racism if they wanted their own school? What is it that they fear? It amazes me. It just amazes me. And it scares me to death that we don't get it. And I'm asking you to open up your heart and just hear and listen and have a clear thought. That is all that I am asking. Because there's always something we can learn. Just something we can learn to be a better person. I think my friend is on. Hold on one second. James?
Hi, Carla. Sorry, can you hear me now?
I can hear you beautifully.
Perfect. That's good news, Carla. Sorry for the long wait. There was a bit of confusion on my side as to exactly how to log on, but I want to thank you for your patience as well as the opportunity to be on your show. Thank you.
You are so welcome. I am very interested in your town, and I was just telling people why, because in my own brain span, as I call it, I wanted to have a community in a town, a small town, of course, and I wanted to, a small Christian town, I should say, and I wanted the same Christianity and patriotism and Constitution people. I wanted the same around me, and all conservative. I didn't want no liberal poo-poo heads in there. So I'm interested about your, I'm sorry, they're poo-poo heads. This is what they are. They're crazy.
That's an interesting way of putting it, Carla. I do appreciate that. Yeah.
I would love to put them in their own neighborhoods and just sit there and watch them, because I can tell you right now, they can't survive. They would kill each other.
Now, you know, that's similar to the feeling we share in Orania. We also have a strong feeling with regards to conservatism, and it's one of the building blocks of a community such as Orania. We have a strong Christian foundation, we have a strong conservative foundation, and everything that goes along with that. I refer here to family values, to a close-knit community, and all things that goes along with those types of values.
Well, let me ask you, how did the town get started? I mean, who had the vision?
Carla, the visionary men that actually spearheaded the movement was two academics. He was a missionary, and he traveled all across Africa, spreading the gospel. Along with him was another academic, Dr. Chris Ewerster, and it was the two of them that saw that a country as diverse such as South Africa would have to allow for communities where these communities will be able to live out their own culture. And I think that's just an important thing to mention about Orania as well. It's not a community that's based on color. It's a community that's based on culture, and that's quite a common misconception about our little town. Yes, it is a conservative community. It's a Christian-based, Christian-founded community, but it's also a community solely based on the culture of the Afrikaner, which is a culture that has developed over the last 300 and almost 60 years. These two academics then got together a few more investors, and they bought the town that was standing empty for about a decade, a town that was not utilized in a way, basically a ghost town. And from there, more and more people decided that they want to become involved with a community such as Orania. And over the last 20 grown to a very small population. Currently, we're only standing at about 1,100 people in the community at the moment. But what I should mention there is that about 3 years ago, Orania was standing at about 800 people, 800 citizens. And a few years before that, Orania was standing at about 400 citizens. So over the last, let's say about 3-4 years, we've seen growth. We were standing still for many years at about 400 people, and in the last 4 years we started climbing, first up to 800 and then up to 1,100. We currently have a growth of about 10% per annum, 10% in population growth, and we've got have an economic growth that exceeds that. We have 2 shopping centers being built here at the moment. Just to explain what the larger vicinity looks like, you can compare it to some of the smaller towns in maybe, well, this is a picture that I have in my mind in the southern parts of America, where there's a couple of small towns close to each other, and Orania is slowly but surely becoming a bit of a hub where a lot of the other smaller towns in this district, the people that live there go to do their shopping, to get their eyes tested. My wife is an optometrist, and she's based here in Orania as well. And we have a medical doctor here. We will have a medical doctor here within the next about 2 weeks. She's permanently moving a practice here from the beginning of February. We have a lot of other services. We have restaurants. We have a tourism industry. We receive about 30,000 tourists in Orania per year. So we are kind of becoming a bit of a hub in the broader community by providing other communities with various services. We're also one of the few voting stations in this community, in this broader vicinity as well.
Let me ask you this. Can the town keep its growth going? Do you have the land mass which to keep it growing, or no?
That's a good question, Carla. At the moment, we are very, very close. We are nearing capacity, but we have neared capacity several times over the last 23 years, and there's always land becoming available. We have a committee that focuses just on that, identifying resources, identifying land that we then purchase and utilize for development as well. So Orania is expanding not only in population, but also in land.
Now, you also, you're self-sufficient. Explain how did you get there? Is what I want to know. I mean, you have your own farms. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, we do have farming communities here in Orania. Rather, we have farms. Yes, and we have people. I think what's just important to explain as well, just before I get to that, is a lot of people view Orania as like a type of a kibbutz town, which is not really the case. We have a free market approach in Orania, so people are able to purchase land, to purchase houses, to purchase property. I, for example, got a bond from Orania Savings and Credit, and I purchased my house. And the upgrades that I do here is on my own cost. But when I sell the house, it's my profit. And the same applies to the farming activities in the vicinity. One of the bigger farming projects that we have here is owned by two brothers, and so it's privately owned farms. And then they
Hello. Okay.
Okay,
you just cut off for a second, but go ahead.
Sorry, yes. So we have farming activities that belongs to private investors as well. Now, with regards to that, we are able to produce a lot of types of products, agricultural products. For example, pecan nuts, a type of nut that we produce in quite large quantities. Also corn. We produce two types of corn. The one that you cook and eat with dinner, and then also the corn that you buy at the movies. Just for interest sake, a lot of people know that, but it's actually different types of corn that you have to plant, and that we then harvest here in Orania. Various products like that, and we sell that. We export it to the rest of South Africa and to other countries as well, especially the pecan nuts. We sell the majority of that outside the borders.
Stop. Don't you dare call it. It's a pecan.
It's a pecan. Is that the correct? Thank you.
Pronounce it.
Sorry.
That's my favorite nut in the world. Don't you call it that. I'm from Oklahoma. We had like 5 pecan trees, and that I sat there and I used to watch my pecans get eaten by squirrels. So I used to shoot the squirrels with a BB gun.
You sound dangerous, Carla. No, then I won't. Pecan. Is that the correct pronunciation? Just for interest sake, in Orania we only speak English out of self-defense. So it's a language
I see how you are. Oh, so you really don't even speak my language. I see what's going on here. So, boo-boo to you too. I can make up my own language, but you're not going to be able to understand me.
No, I think we understand it shouldn't be a problem.
Yes.
But we have various agricultural products that we produce here and that we then export, and that also brings in economic capacity to purchase products that would otherwise not be able to produce within Orania. So being sustainable does not necessarily mean that you produce everything in your community.
I guess then my question. Oh yes, it does. I guess my question goes, what about water and electricity?
Yes. With regards to water, we are blessed with having the Orange River on the borders of Orania. So we have our own water facility, pumping water from that. We also have an interesting approach. We have, as does any household in the world, have a tap inside and a tap outside in the garden. And our inside water, our inside taps, that is purified water, clean water that goes through a system. And the outside taps, that comes straight from the river. So water that's used for gardening and so forth, that comes straight from the river. And the inside water is then purified water. With regards to electricity, at the moment, we are still on the South African government and the electricity that they provide. We purchase from them, but we are in the process, and we've already started with that, erecting the first panels. But we are looking in the direction of solar power. And that's one thing that we have noticed in this district, the Karoo. At the moment, I don't know what's the temperature there by you guys, but it's about 42 degrees. The Karoo here in Orania, where we stay, if it really gets cool, it drops down to about 21 degrees. So sun is one thing that there's a lot of in the Karoo.
Okay. Now, just out of curiosity, do you worry about, because from what I'm hearing, you got some crazy people over there. Do you worry about someone trying to poison the Orange River?
It's not something that we are constantly worried about. Obviously, it's not excluded, but such a person would have to be a complete extremist, because not only would we be targeted, or would we be affected by such an attack, but also 3 other towns that's also in this direct vicinity of the Orange River, and the Orange River runs through a large part of South Africa. So depending on the amount of poison, it could affect a large part of the country. So a person such as that would really want to hurt Orania or other communities quite badly to do that. And it's obviously not something that's not completely out of our minds, but it's something that has proven to be it's not impossible, but it's implausible, if I can put it that way.
What about police? How do you police your own facility, your own neighborhoods? Do you have because when I think of my small town, I want my own police, I want my own sheriff, I want my militia. Matter of fact, I have decided that when I have my own town, every freaking person is going to have a gun. Everyone must have a gun. They must learn how to shoot the gun. They must understand the gun. But every household will have a freaking gun.
I think you must come hunting with us in South Africa, Rana. I think you will enjoy that. We do hunting quite often in South Africa, at least once a year, and we'll definitely safely to shoot maybe a blue or a pala or something, whatever you're up for. But no, just on that subject, hunting and that type of sport, yes, that is quite popular. Everyone, however, does not own a gun because there's also a lot of rules that makes it really hard, really tough for people to be able to acquire a weapon in South Africa. What I can tell you with regards to police, Orania has its own. We have our own security council, if I can put it that way. We have volunteers, that assist with certain security aspects. Their main task is to make sure that people stop at stop streets, to ensure that our kids that ride their bicycles and so on are not in danger. I know this sounds quite funny, especially when you think about South Africa, but we have no crime problem in Orania. We don't have, honestly, don't have a single crime problem, well, especially at the moment. We have, however, had syndicates that move through a lot of these stealing cars, and we were also affected. I think there's about 2 or 3 cars here in Orania. We have had people with certain dependency issues, drug dependency and so forth, that move to Orania, saying they have the best intentions and then stealing a television, maybe something like that. We have had no violent crime in this town at all, ever. So that, I think that single incident that I mentioned now, that kind of sums up the amount of crime that we have experienced here in Orania.
I was thinking when I built my town, I'm saying because it will happen. Hospital. Do you have your own hospital?
No, we don't. Not at the moment. Our medical services is a bit limited. That is one of the things that we look into. What we also have to keep in mind, Orania is now only standing at about 1,100, a population of 1,100. So as the town grows, as the community grows, and we are growing at a steady pace at the moment, we will look at facilities such as hospitals and so forth. Like I said, our doctor is moving to Orania now permanently. We're moving to practice here permanently, and this will happen within the next weeks. We already have an optometrist. We have a clinic here for people less fortunate that struggle to afford medical aid. So we also have that type of social services. It's not, and I say this with a twinkle in the eye, it's not as cool as Obamacare, but we try. But we also provide limited.
Dare mention Bobo the clown. Oh my God! Obamacare. It's not Obamacare. It's Bobo the Clown.
Just a little tongue-in-cheek
Yeah,
remark there.
I'm thinking, should I trade Bobo the Clown for the Joker? I'm thinking.
I'm too clued up with American politics. Yeah, it is an interesting question.
Yeah, I don't know, because I think if we trade presidents, we take the Joker and you could have Bobo the Clown, but I could tell you that he wouldn't survive in America. He would be dead already. You guys are fortunate, like I said. Good president like those should never live long. Oh, Lord, did I say that? Oh, forgive me. What was I thinking? Here's a question for you. Because of your town, how does the Joker, the president is what I'm calling you, Joker, how does that witch doctor of a human being, is he coming after your community at all, or is he leaving your community alone?
Up to now, we've had very few, actually almost no confrontation with the South African government, with the ANC government. We have been visited by Jacob Zuma. We were also visited by former President Nelson Mandela. We were also even visited. I'm not aware if you. I'm not sure aware of Julius Malema. He's a more radical figure. He's a more radical figure, like with a party called the Economic Freedom Fighters. You might be able to.
Okay, stop. He is not a freedom fighter. Okay, so basically, no. I'll make it clear to people. So basically, you were visited by an eco-terrorist. I'm sorry, that's what I call him. You were visited by a jackass, Lima, and a clown. My God, what are you guys holding there? Circus?
What's important to us is to show the rest of the world and the rest of the country that Orania has nothing to hide. If you want to come and take a look, we're not doing anything illegal. We're not doing anything that's not above board. So come and take a look. I might just mention that none of the visits that we received was on our request. It was always government, asking us, is it okay if we can come and take a look and visit? In that same voice, I can also mention that we receive visits from the provincial legislature, which is basically like the state's governing body in U.S. terms. We have you guys have states, we have provinces. So this is the provincial government from there. Some of their delegates coming to Orania to acquire knowledge, which we share with them, without an issue. We have an environmental project here where we divide our trash into 4 categories. We then recycle it, and also generates an income for the community. And we have been visited by the provincial government asking us, how does it work? How is it possible to implement in other communities and so forth? So anyone is.
Okay, did he just cut off again? You did for a second. Can you hear me? Okay. I don't know. Okay, he got dropped. You know what's so interesting about this? He'll be back. If you don't know, we're so used to this. It's so normal for us to get cut off when we're talking about South Africa. It is the system there. It's what it is. But it's so interesting to hear someone clearly loving what he does and making a difference in his community. And you have the government, I don't even know if you can call it that, coming to his town asking what he and his people are doing to make it a success. Now, how crazy is that? I love that. I mean, if that doesn't show the government how wrong they were, it just shows you 100% that what they're doing and what they're trying to do is working. And it's working so he can do other communities. But the fact is that the government is coming to him, coming to Orania, coming to their town. I find that amazing. I mean, I really find that truly amazing. So what would happen if the white South Africans started building more communities like that? Is that a possibility? Could they do it? Well, if Orania is a point, an attractive point, then my question is, why aren't they doing it? It's not about not doing it, it's why are you not doing it? Because it seems to be working. And if it works, let's model it. I mean, that's how I'm looking at it. It's a model for me to want to have my own community. Shouldn't be a model for you. I wonder how much, is there a town in South Africa for sale? Can anyone in the chat room tell me that? Is there a town in South Africa for sale? And if so, why not get together and buy it? How awesome is that? And Ingela is saying the internet is bad. Yeah, I know. He just got bumped off. I hope that he realized he can just come back on. I'm waiting to see if he knows that. I'm still here. But it's interesting. It's the same where we're searching for towns here to buy ghost towns. That's what he said that town was. It was a ghost town. A ghost town. He bought a ghost, not him, but the founders bought a ghost town. And look at it. Man, this is a prime example of what you can do. Why are we not doing it? Why is America's not doing it? Why is anyone in South Africa not doing it? Is it just this one neighborhood, this one group of people? Come on. Can't be. There's got to be other people who want to do this. You can't tell me that you don't have the wealth. You do. Now, I don't really know where Orania sits. I'm going to go to the chat room and see if anyone can point to me where Orania is. Is it in the middle? Is it on the edge? How far is it from the major city, a major port? Where exactly is Orania? English says, I do not know of any more ghost towns. We have to buy the ground. Oh, okay. That was my answer. But we do know in America there's a lot of ghost towns, man. We should get busy buying. Amazing community. Now, do they have issues? Every community where you have people are going to be some issues, but you have to work those out. I mean, they don't have a hospital yet, but they have a medical center. So they're getting doctors. I guess they're going to be getting dentists, malls, farms, water. I guess they're working on their own power source, which to me, it's north of the Cape. Okay. I guess they're going to get their own, power source, because now they will be totally away from the system. They would have their own grid. See, that's what you want. You don't want to have to depend on the poo-poos, the nice little jack-in-the-box people with that little thing on, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, whoop, pop goes the weasel, and he comes out of the box, got your electricity, got your water supply. You really want your own, because you can't trust the South African government. Hell, you can't trust American government. Let me be honest. But so this would be something, goes the kangaroo, close to the kangaroo. Okay, so now I know we have that song in common. Okay, that's scary. Can someone try to reach the guy from Orania and see if we can't get him back on. I think he was in the chat room, but he's no longer. I wonder if it's a bad power source. Someone needs to, if they can, get a hold of Karen. I think it's interesting that if anyone could see what it takes to put on this show and to get people on when there's a power shortage or a power surge or electricity or slow electricity or just trying to get people onto this show, you would totally be amazed. I mean, I would love to have just a camera in the background, just so everyone could see the fingers that it's taken, the phone calls that it takes. Because you don't even understand, there's just people in the background doing this constantly, making sure that they get on and stay on. If they don't, how to get back on, how to re-enter. They're doing this 24/7 because they want you to hear an option. Oh, kangaroo. Oh, upper kangaroo. Oh, I thought it was, I'm sorry. Kangaroo. I thought it was the weasel thing. Okay. In 1991, a group of African pioneers bought an old and derelict town and constructed it in the 60s by Department of Water Affairs. Since then, they settled, has reconstructed, and has grown to a town in its own right with over 1,000 permanent residents and more than 10,000 outwards. I don't know what that means, outwards. ID people who haven't a permanent settlement in Orania yet, but who are part of the community by being members of the Iranian movement. You know, I always wondered, because it is his own town and it's trying to be different. It makes me wonder, why the South African government is looking at them. I know why, because it's a success. It's a success. Now, can you tell me how many, I'm just asking, how many black towns they are that is this successful? Does anyone know? Well, we know there's black ghettos, and we know that there's Soweto who hasn't paid their electricity in 19 years. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about people who pay their bills, communities that pay their bills, have their own schools and community. That's what I want to know. Because, see, that will tell you why they were looking at it. They were looking at it to make sure they can find something they can model. Oh, okay. I got an answer. There's got to be some. Don't be telling me there's none. There's got to be one. Come on. In all of South Africa? Come on. Find me one. But it's a perfect example of why they're looking at Orania. They want to know how. And it's interesting that they're, I want to know about their schools. I really do. I want to know how tourists find them and how they made a success out of the restaurants. What kind of restaurants do they have? These are the things you should ask. And he's back. Yay. He's back. He's back. It's okay. I'm used to it.
Sorry about that. Yes, my internet just suddenly off. But yes, I am back. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, I'm patient. It's fine. My question to you is this. The government was looking to you or to your town as a success to help them do their towns. Am I right?
Yes, it has happened. Well, not every single town in the country, but yes, there's quite more specifically in Northern Cape, where the government, started talking to us about some of the projects that we took on here, and that they also want to implement in communities or in other communities. And I don't know if this came through just before I cut off. One of the examples is the recycling project that we have in Orania. And that's a project that also generates income for the community, separating trash, selling off the glass and the metal and so forth, and thereby generating an income out of trash. Yes.
Okay, so now you're making jobs in your own community. Now, what about the schools? Do you have schools there?
Yes, we have schools, and we have two schools in the community. The one is a school offers traditional schooling approach, with regards to fixed hours, a fixed curriculum, school attire, and so forth. The other allows the students to determine their own pace, and they also provide distance education to kids in other communities. What's important about these two schools is that they both follow a learning plan that is a little different from a lot of the state-run schools in the rest of the country. They have a Christian foundation. They're open with prayer every morning, and they have a much more traditional approach with regards to a Christian background, and as opposed to a lot of the schools in the rest of South Africa.
Okay, so the schools are Christian based.
Yes, that is correct. There's also another thing with regards to the way we offer schooling to the school children here, and that is that we tend to give children more. We view it as a more pragmatic view on South African history. A lot of kids that goes to other schools, especially young Afrikaners, that grow up with the chip on their shoulder, learning that everything that happened in their past, everything that their forefathers did was evil, and that they did not contribute to infrastructure in the country or to anything in any way. We tend to provide kids with a more balanced approach when it comes to the history of South Africa.
And that's a very interesting look, and the reason why I say that is because a friend of mine approached me because in February, I don't think you know this, is they call it Black History Month, and so last year, of course, me being okay, I'll do a whole history thing on it, and then my friend said, "Let me ask you this. Could there have been any history without us?" I'm like, let me think about that. No. And so I've decided this year that this history is not going to be called Black History. I'm going to get a lot of hate mail, but you know what? You can kiss my butt. It's going to be called Our History, because we can't survive without each other. So it's our history. So I'm doing it, and amazing stories I'm finding, just amazing stories. And I know that there are amazing stories of Afrikaners back in the day, and you can't tell me there isn't, because I know there are some back there, before all this craziness went down, that there were Afrikaners, white and black, who worked together for the same common cause.
And it still happens. We also, as a country as diverse such as South Africa, we need to acknowledge that the country would not be able to exist if it wasn't for people of all cultures, all colors, contributing towards the country as it is today. And an interesting story that I can tell you just very shortly, just very briefly, is there's a Xhosa community, the traditional Xhosa community in the Eastern Cape, which is the province just next to the Northern Cape, where we are based, an hour's drive from us. And we have signed a memorandum of understanding between ourselves and this community to see if we can help each other promote self-reliance. And it's actually quite interesting coming to visit us, we go with them to experience the different cultures, the different approaches in these communities. What's quite interesting there is that for many years, for many decades, if not longer, hundreds of years, if a young man and a young woman got married, they went to the chief of that village and his council, and that council then provided the newlywed with a piece of land where they would erect a house, where they would put up a camp for their cattle where they would plant vegetables and so forth. They actually still do it to this day, and they promote self-reliance and self-determination in that way. But what's happening now is government is putting pressure on that community by saying that, no, listen, you must have an elected official that participated in the municipal government elections to represent that community, and then the lower level government structures that will reside over that community, or preside rather over that community, will decide who qualifies for a piece of land, how big that piece of land would be, and so forth. The chief and his council is not allowed to do that, which is actually quite sad that they don't just leave the communities to follow their own approaches, to do their own thing, because that community of Nyameni has a brilliant approach. It works for them. It has worked for them for eons.
Okay, so I've never.
Reason why governments.
Okay, so I never heard of the community. So is it a white community, a black community, or what is it?
It's a black community. Xhosa is a tribe, one of the more prominent tribes in South Africa.
And so it's a black tribe that is trying to be sustainable to themselves, not to the government, but the government is coming in trying to tell them, Is that pretty much right?
That's what it boils down to. Yes. We have a close-knit relationship with this community, and it's Xhosa refers to the tribe that they are part of. This is a small part of the broader Xhosa culture that is living, on their own, doing their own thing. They are so self-reliant. There's no shops, not a single shop in that entire community. They manage to provide their own food by growing their own vegetables, having their own cattle around, chickens, and so forth. We had lunch with the chief of the village and his brother and some of his family members about a month ago. And everything we ate that day came out of his garden and, from his yard, whether it be the chickens or the vegetables, the cabbage, and so forth, which is actually quite amazing, quite impressive.
So you're telling me, I can't believe, so you have this neighborhood, a black neighborhood that is being or trying to be successful, and you have the black government coming in saying, no.
South Africa is a complex country, and it's much more diverse than people necessarily realize. We as a country, it consists of more elements here than just black and white. Even amongst the white in South Africa, there's a variety of cultures and also a variety of political views. Okay, that's not that unique. If you look at the black community, you can't just put everybody that's black in South Africa in a little basket and say, okay, this is them. There's the Sotho-speaking cultures, the Nguni tribes, which also consist of the Xhosa-speaking and the Zulu-speaking community. There's Venda and so forth.
Question. 1 second. Could this possibly be that Zuma doesn't like the tribe?
An interesting thing with regards to politics is the Nguni tribes, which consist of the Zulus and the Xhosas. They are the more dominant people within the ANC, in the ruling party, the African National Congress. Zuma is a Zulu, and Nelson Mandela was a Xhosa. He's the person that followed after Nelson Mandela was Thabo Mbeki, also a Xhosa. And now there's a lot of people speculating about who's going to be the next president. One of the possible candidates is Cyril Ramaphosa, which is a businessman. He would be the more modern voice and so forth. But the political analysts, and I'm specifically referring to the black political analysts in South Africa, is pointing out that Cyril Ramaphosa not part of one of the prominent tribes. And that's quite an interesting thing, is tribalism is actually still very much alive in South Africa, probably most African countries. I can't say for sure, but in South Africa, definitely. It affects your chances to become president or the next leader or to hold a prominent position in one of the prominent political parties.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, it's insane, and I'm going to tell you why. It'd be like in America, we go, you're just not black enough. And you're too black, you're too light, your hair is just not black enough. I mean, that's the reason I'm sorry, but that's what it sounds like. It sounds like you're not black enough, so you're not that tribe. You're like this, and you're not good enough for this tribe. I mean, really, you live in Africa. How difficult is it to get along? I mean, I'm going to tell you, someone called me the African American, said, oh, no, baby, back the hell on up. I ain't never been there. It ain't my country. I'm an American. Call me black American. I'm not even black. My skin's brown. I'm an American. I'm offended if you call me an African. Sorry, I ain't going there. I'm not one. Ha! And it makes me pissed.
I'm the other side. Carla, I'm a person that I never grew up during apartheid. I was never really familiar with. I grew up when I actually developed an awareness of what's going on around me. It was before, and Nelson Mandela was president. So I was never really, aware of the former apartheid government and so forth. But I, on the other hand, I'm a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white boy, and I love being called an African. I actually take offense if people don't call me African.
So you don't want to. Okay, now you lost me. You're blonde hair and blue eyes. So you take offense when they call you what?
No, we have been called settlers of a special kind by former President Thabo Mbeki, and there's been various definitions for white people in South Africa. And the fact of the matter is, aside from the fact that we are Afrikaners, as you have Zulus and Xhosas and Sutus and so forth in the country, we are also Africans. We don't know any other continent. We can't call any other continent home. Sorry, no, that's just a point to make. We have been, there's extreme left-wing parties that has called on white people to go back to Europe. I'm not even sure if my ancestors are truly from Europe, recently, or exactly in Europe. If so, they are from. I'm.
I think that's hilarious. I think that's hilarious because you have blacks in America talking about going back to Africa. I'm saying go, go, and while you at it, leave your cell phones, leave everything that you didn't build. Go. I guarantee you, within 6 months, you'll be coming back like, hey, that's not my country.
Yeah.
Americans think that they just don't get most, and I'm going to say it and I'm going to get slammed, most American blacks have not lived outside the United States. Most of them haven't even lived outside of their own city block. So when I get the ones that, we should go back to Africa, I'm like, have you lived there? Have you lived anywhere other than here? And then they have nothing to say.
Yeah,
I have.
understand that.
I've lived all over Europe. And if I'm going to move anywhere, I'm moving to Europe.
Consider Africa, Carl. Especially when it's a Muslim community.
No.
It's a little warmer.
No. You guys got bugs, huge bugs. And you got mosquitoes that are the size of my hands. I don't like bugs and mosquitoes. I can't deal with those things.
Even in Africa, we have bug spray. You don't have to
I wasn't really talking about those kind of bugs, but okay. But now I want to get to the seriousness of this, and that is what's happening in South Africa that's not happening in Orania. that's happening around Orania. Are you not worried that this could come to Orania? The killing of the farmers. Are you not concerned at all?
We definitely are concerned. I could just mention to you, Carlos, this morning alone, there were 3 attacks in South Africa, just since this morning. And I think, I don't have the figures in front of me right now, but either 2 or 3 people were killed. 2 or 3 farmers were killed this morning. So it's a huge problem in South Africa. We have the Human Rights Commission, asking questions. We have various civil rights organizations asking questions, putting pressure on government. We actually see farmers now starting up their own patrols, their own. You might even call it. I'm careful to call it that in a politically correct environment such as South Africa, but looking what might be compared to their own militias, their own way of defending themselves, and it's a huge problem. With Orania, we are privileged with Orania, and one of the reasons why this town was identified many years ago, 23 years ago, to be a home for Afrikaners, is the fact that the Northern Cape, the province we are situated, is the biggest province in the country, but it's also the most scarcely populated province. So we have a lot less people in the province, which immediately leads to less plantation, less crime, and so forth. The farm murders mainly takes place in the northern part of the country, where we are in the central to southern part of the country. So we are not really that confronted by it. But obviously, being an Afrikaner, it saddens me to see the farm attacks taking place on such a large scale. Just for interest sake, and I think this is something that you possibly have heard of, information that you have probably discussed on your show as well, and that is the most dangerous job to have in South Africa right now is being a farmer. It's even more dangerous than being a policeman.
You're absolutely right, and I talked about that before you got on, and I will definitely mention it again. To kill a farmer who produces your food is the most stupidest thing I have ever heard. It shows the sheer ignorance of the people, because regardless if Zuma wants to give the land back to the Africans, which can't farm a turnip, by the way, evidently, because if it was so good at doing that, let's just take a look at Zimbabwe. How good are the farmers doing in Zimbabwe? Not at all. Now they got to import everything, and the people are starving. Let's just take a look at Africa in a whole. I'm going to say it, I just don't care. We've been doing Feed Africa, Africa whatever. How many, this is going on 20 years. How much feeding is it going on over there? If 20 years later, we're still talking about Feed Africa. What the hell are they doing with the money?
Yeah, the problem is, and I'm actually quoting someone else here right now. It's a former politician, many 30, 40 years back. He used to say that common sense is not that common anymore, and that's what it comes to. Too much and too little common sense, and we see a lot of ideology, especially since the elections that took place during May last year. 2014. There's been a strong move towards the left in the South African politics. Zuma was also now it's the ANC's 103rd day this week, and he also made a lot of comments about land appropriation, as it's called, which is basically land grabs, taking the land from the white farmers, which is a bit of a Zimbabwean move, to be honest. And that's the problem is with this current situation regarding food security in the entire world. The last thing one should do is to make an emotional, irresponsible decision. Because you're not just taking away the land from that farmer, but you're also going back to you're also denying your constitution, the guys that voted for you, that gave you the mandate to be in power. You're denying them of food security as well, which is irresponsible.
I have a young man in the chat room. I got to say this because it cracks me up. And he comes out, I am a disgrace to my own people. Let me give you a hint about my people, my friend. My people, my family actually did something during the Civil Rights Movement. They actually marched. What did yours do? So you got to know who you're talking to before you go on there and blast. I'm a very, very proud person of who I am and what I am. And what I do not stand for is ignorance of any kind.
Yeah, I think it's actually really important what you said. It's important to have a honest conversation in South Africa, and I think all across the world, to have an honest conversation about a lot of things, about where we stand with each other and so forth. But especially in South Africa, we are due to being politically correct. We are shying away from it. We are pretending as if everything's okay. We're pretending that we are this united nation, which we're not. There's a lot of tension and a lot of problems that's up towards the surface. And if we keep suppressing it, something's going to explode.
Oh yeah, it always comes down to something of the sort. You know what I mean? It's like my family. So this guy up here, so he says I'm confused. Yeah, I can see where I would be confused, since my family started some of the all-black universities in this country, and marched and said, "Oh, I can see where I can be confused, my brother. Oh yeah, I can see that." It always cracks me up when you always get when they don't really understand who you are and they think it's okay. I look at it as like, dude, be confused. If you don't like what I'm saying, you can always leave and go someplace else. I am not here to hold your hand because I'm not interested in your hand. And my thing is, I love people, period, of all colors. But when I want to build my town, I want to build my town with the knowledge of the know-how to be self-sufficient and self-determination. I don't want liberals or anything other than the kind of people I want to hang out with. So I want to see in my town, my community, Christians, you got it. Second Amendment, right to bear arms, absolutely. Constitution, patriotism, yes. What color? Don't care what color you are. I do care about you understanding the Constitution. I freaking love it, and that's my thing. And I always love these people who think, I don't live where you live, baby. I don't have your same issues, and I don't want them. Because I don't look through life through a pinpoint. I look through life through a telescope, and I want to see all. I want to broaden my horizons, And that's when I looked at your town. I'm thinking, wow, you have your own schools, your own restaurants, and you're trying to get your own power station. I mean, I look at them like, man, what a community. And evidently, South Africa must like it. You end up having Malema and Zuma and Manila both there to check out what you guys have accomplished. And now you're helping other tribes. That is what I find interesting.
Well, can I just mention something on the topic of being self-sufficient?
Yes.
We implemented something about 10 years ago in Orania, which we found to be very practical. And it's a coupon system. The media often refers to it as a money system, currency, which is not truly the case. But we do print our own notes that we trade with. It looks exactly the same as a banknote, but it's got our own emblems on it, mainly animals, such as the little buck species that's indigenous to this vicinity and so forth. So what we do is we then trade with this, and we motivate people to make use of our, for lack of a better term, our currency as well. And by having certain shops and so forth giving people a 5% discount if they pay with our currency, which we call Ora, derived from our town's name, Orania, the Oras. And there's a couple of advantages to that. The first one is if someone ever, for example, robs a store in Orania, and as they drive a community, let's say a couple of miles down the road, and they open the bag with all the banknotes in, and they see these Oras, they will realize that they won't be able to spend it because that currency is only accepted inside Orania. So it has a safety measure. But aside from that, what we realize is a lot of people are carrying around cash. And if you carry cash, it's not generating any interest for you. It's actually money that's losing value. You keep it in your pocket. So what we did is we're now trading with a useless piece of paper, a little coupon, while the real money, the rands, which is a South African currency, lying in the bank, generating an interest, which also has an economic advantage for Orania and the people in Orania. So just for interest sake.
You know, that's very interesting, because there was a community here in America that I thought was awesome. They wanted to have their own money, and I think it wasn't a Bitcoin either. It was some kind of their own currency, which I thought was like cool. I mean, because they were doing it to have their own currency. I don't know how far that went, but what I'm proud of is that they tried to do it. And isn't this, community where you could buy this with this, you can buy that in the store, and you can buy that. I thought, what an awesome thing to do, because again, it shows that they're trying to do something other than what our government is doing. And I thought that was really cool. That was just, phenomenal for me, because I thought, wow, and now you're doing the same thing with currency using your own. I think that's a great idea. Like I said, that's something that I would think about if I was to, have my own town. The one thing that you didn't mention that I would want is my own hospital. That's the one thing that I would definitely have, because I don't think we utilize all the things in nature well. We have a lot of plants in America that we can use for healing, which goes against the centralness of most people who believe or not. But there's so much more for healing than just cutting and slicing and medicating. And so I would start with my own hospital, and therefore my citizens of my town wouldn't have to go anywhere besides our own hospitals, our own dentistry, our own fire department, our own police department, and you start building that community. And what an awesome thing. Like I said, I applaud you, man, and I applaud you for helping the African community to be as well, because that's awesome. You're reaching out to help them, to do what you want, and I think it's great.
Thank you, Carla. Well, firstly, just with regards to the hospital and so forth, that's definitely you're 100% right, and it is something we are aiming towards. With regards to the other communities, I don't want to make it sound like Orania is the one, just sharing knowledge and not getting anything back from the other African communities. Specifically with regards to the Xhosa community, Nyameni, I referred to earlier, we've learned a lot from them as well, especially when it comes to being completely self-reliant on a small scale in your household. To a lot of us are still thinking in city terms, where these guys have truly embraced all the positive things of living in a rural community. And so we also learn a lot from the other communities, liaising with them. And I think that's one that's to me personally, is that we focus on smaller communities, that freedom of living out your identity within your community, not just being dictated by a government with regards to what you should say and who you should or should not pray to and so forth. That's one of the challenges in a country as diverse as South Africa is it's impossible for one political party to look after everything. You have to allow community to live out the identities.
It's funny you mentioned that because my several of my families are in all black communities in the southern states, and they are the deputies and the sheriff departments, and they are on the school board. I mean, they're so entrenched in their community, and it's amazing. One of them in another town had the first black rodeo. A lot of people don't know about that because they don't know the history.
That's interesting.
Yeah, well, that's my family, and like I said before, you don't know history. And, and it's amazing, because you have all these things, and there's different towns, and this little town, what I love about that town is that it's not a poor town. It's a middle class town where the average income is $60,000 to $80,000 a year, and it's a small town, and it's great because they're prosperous and they do amazing things with their own school system, and the kids they have a school rate of 80% go on to Ivy League schools. But try to get into that community.
That's impressive.
You get into that community because the community that they don't like outside. That's how they keep everything out. They like it small. They don't want it to grow because they want to keep their hands in the pot, as they call it. I look at it and I go, way to go. For me, I think that's a great thing. But that's what they do. And I'm thinking, well, if you can keep that, how awesome is that? And there's no violence. There haven't been a break-in that neighborhood in the last 50 years. Why? Because who are you going to break into? Your cousins, your sisters? What? Who are you going to rob?
That's an important thing that you're mentioning there, Carla, is if a community is a tight-knit, close community, then immediately there's a mutual respect in the community, which does not will provide for the opportunity for crime and so forth. As you mentioned now, someone that goes to the same church as you do, that has a kid in the same school as your kid, you're not gonna rob them. You're not gonna try to hurt them in any way. To the contrary, you're gonna do what you can in your means to protect them and to look after them.
Yes. And that's important. I think that we get into this, to me, you get into this color battle, as I call it. In America, racism has become a religion to a lot of people. And I look at it as, why? Why should my color define who I am? Why can't me as a person define who I am? You see what I'm saying? Because if we always look at color, you're going to always see one thing, and that's why when I build my family or community, it doesn't have to look like me, but it does have to have some similarities. It has to have a common denominator, and that is Christianity. It does have to have conservative. It does have to carry patriotism and constitution with them, because I don't want anyone who doesn't understand that. It's like, man, it boggles the mind. It just to me, when I see the hatred, it just boggles the mind. And I've seen some of the pictures of what people do, and I've seen some of the hatred emails and postings on Facebook, and I just don't get it. I don't understand it, and I don't get it. And, like I said to a friend of mine, we were talking about the same thing we were today, and that is the movie Vikings. I like the movie. And I said, if they go politically correct, I will not watch it. There was no blacks in the freaking Viking period, okay? The blacks were in Africa. The Vikings were up north. If they put a black man in there, my show is over for me because there were no Vikings that were black. Okay, let us just be honest. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think Brad Pitt would make a nice shot?
Do I think Brad Pitt would make a what?
A nice shot. The character, portray the character nicely. No, I'm joking, Carla. No,
I'm thinking, well, honey, he's a good-looking man, but
but he won't make a good shot. I don't know.
I don't know. There are. I look at some of the old movies I care for. Not like some of the old Western movies, and I don't know. I think we have gone so politically correct that we correct the correct, and then we don't see the true enemy, and that's what I want to focus on. Who's the true enemy? You talked about your town, but who's the true enemy of your town? And how do more communities become like yours? I mean, are there other people buying up land or a ghost town to make another Orania? Is that happening in South Africa, or could that happen in South Africa today?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the opportunity is for anyone to do that. What makes Orania unique is the fact that it's based in the Northern Cape, which allows for a lot more land expansion. There's other projects, a project that I'm aware of in another part of the country that does something similar. They are based more, closer to Pretoria, more towards the busier, the more densely populated areas of Orania, which differs from our approach, which aims at more scarcely populated areas. But absolutely, the opportunity exists for anyone to do that. The biggest enemy, and that's a very good question, Ghana, who's the biggest enemy for endeavors such as Orania? And I wouldn't say it's government. I wouldn't say it's necessarily even other communities. I think the biggest threat that Afrikaners in general, I'm not referring it to Orania, but Afrikaners in general face is people of the more political persuasion that is uncomfortable with their own culture, with their heritage, where they come from, that wishes to deny it as much as possible, and thereby leading to the fact that a certain culture, a certain tradition is then dying out. So I think the biggest enemy Afrikaners face is no one else than themselves.
And you do and drive a great point there, and that is, what do we do here? I don't think it's anything wrong with having your own community. I made that statement. A lot of my family members live in all black neighborhoods in America. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If that's where people want to live, I think you should be able to live where you want to live. That's my main point. And if you want to live in an all black neighborhood, then live in an all black neighborhood. But if you want to live in a mixed neighborhood, live in a mixed neighborhood. Wherever you want to live, but don't condone or don't condemn anyone else who wants to live separate from you. That's my point. Don't do it.
It's quite an interesting point, because as I mentioned before, anyone from any background or any race, any color, is welcome to come to Orania. If they are willing to integrate into this community. But if I look at the tourism community, traditional tribal community of Nyameni, they would easily accept someone from outside in that community because they have a very strong tradition, very, very strong views in that regard, which is actually quite interesting. The media, for example, really points the finger towards a community such as Orania and say, okay, that's a white-only community. It's not a white-only community. It's a cultural community. But in the community such as Nyameni, which is 100% Xhosa, 100% black community, they rather refer to that the Xhosa speaking community of which is quite interesting, the double standards that we experience here in South Africa. I don't know if it applies to other countries as well, but it definitely applies to South Africa.
Well, it's very interesting because no one is harping on the fact that community, what did you call it, Armenian? Not Armenian, the black tribe, they have their own community, which is all black, but no one's talking about that. They're harping on your community because it's all white. I find that interesting. I find the bias there. It's the same in America. You have your black communities. No one's harping on the black communities, but oh my God, get a white community. Here we go. And it shouldn't be that way. And that's my point. I think if you want to live separate, and this is the one thing I tell people all the time, if you want to live separate, that's fine. In my family, we have we're a huge family. So nor do I have, black African eccentrics, and I have black liberalism and conservatives. I also have people who are black Muslims who are not Christians. So would I want them in my town? Nope, don't want them in my town. You're my family, but not in my town. We don't have the same idea. But that doesn't mean I don't love them. And see, and that's the difference. You should be able to live where you want to live. That's my whole point. When a friend of mine got together and she said, I want to start a group about Vikings, but they're going to tell me I'm a racist. I'm like, why? It's your history. You're a Viking. I'm sorry, you're from Sweden. What more do they want from you? A pound of flesh? I'm sorry. Start your group. I'll back it. I don't want you to be in it because I'm not a Viking. It shouldn't be difficult. And my point is, if black Americans want to separate themselves, do it. Do it. But don't get mad at me because I don't want to. Go ahead.
No, it's interesting, Carla. Just for interest's sake, a black journalist that accompanied us on one of the visits to Nyameni, a lady that she used to do some work for, I think, BBC or something, and she's now with one of the local African news channels called ENCA. Pepile went with us to this Nyameni community, and then afterwards she told me a very interesting thing. She said, James, maybe, just maybe, true reconciliation is not about giving fellow South Africans these fake hugs and pretending that you're one nation and so forth. Maybe true reconciliation is being there for your neighbor when he needs you the most. And that's words that I have taken to heart. It doesn't, you can't be fake. If I don't sincerely feel strongly emotionally about another person, whether he be a fellow Afrikaner or a person of another race or an English-speaking white person or whatever, I won't be able to fake, emotions. But if, as a fellow South African, if that person is in a certain type of need, there's no reason why I, myself, or the community of Orania can't assist that person or his community in a specific way.
Okay, you said something that was kind of different. What do you mean by English-speaking South Africans? I don't get it. What is that?
Okay.
I'm like, what in the world was that? Did I miss something? Are they not white?
No,
did I miss a whole other race of people someplace?
Yes. No. There's also, like I said, South Africa is quite a diverse country, and you have in the white community, you have Afrikaans-speaking and English-speaking South Africans. We have also a lot of that has moved to South Africa over the last few years. But we have there is a bit of a distinction between white and rather amongst the white South Africans with regards to Afrikaans-speaking and English-speaking conservatives. However, you can't define a person's political view just on his language, on his own language. You have a lot of more conservative English-speaking white South Africans. You have more liberal English-speaking white South Africans, and the same applies to Afrikaans-speaking South Africans as well. Is a community primarily focused. English-speaking, people living here as well. People who have integrated into the community who speak Afrikaans quite comfortably now.
Okay, so
Caller?
Yes, yeah. So English-speaking Africans are what? Not African? I'm just trying to get that.
No, they most definitely are. The English-speaking South Africans are mainly white.
Okay, so then stop. Nope. I got now. Okay. Then you're speaking English to me, so yes. I'm confused. So are you not an English?
No, so I'm speaking English. I'm speaking English out of self-defense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your
my
native
home language.
Tongue.
My native tongue is African.
Okay, so your native tongue is Afrikaans.
That's correct. Yes.
Which is what exactly?
Oh yeah, that is the language that the majority of Afrikaners have spoken. Well, actually, all Afrikaners have spoken since the 1600s. They used to speak Dutch initially, and then later that from Dutch formed the Afrikaans language, which is the language attributed to the people that fought in the Anglo-Boer War, the Boers, basically, as they are commonly referred to. We are commonly referred to in South Africa as well. The Afrikaners, the people that were basically in government from about 1910 until 1994 in South Africa. So there's a bit of a distinction between the Afrikaans-speaking, the English-speaking white people in South Africa. But it's like I said, it's not.
It just sounds so funny. No. I'm sorry to be. I'm sitting here like, as a black person, I'm like,
not at all.
The English-speaking white people. I'm sorry.
That's not
okay. I got to
You can't make a direct comparison between South Africa and the United States.
I know.
South Africa is a really diverse. It's a really diverse country.
I know, but it's just I hear that I'm thinking, huh? Okay, so the other whites are Afrikaners, and the other whites are English. But
that's one way. That's one way to put it. Yes, you're right.
But you're all Anglo-Saxons, no matter how you look at it.
That's what it boils down to. That's what it comes down to. Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure I get it right.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. There is, like I said, once again, there's conservatives and liberals on either side of the language barrier. Traditionally, the Afrikaners are said to be more conservative, but I can't honestly say that is a fact. That there's no study to prove that, but that is what's said traditionally.
So the Afrikaners is more conservative than the English-speaking.
Yeah, like I said, that is the reputation. That's the stigma that exists in South Africa.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Sir, what is her name? The actress, Charlize Theron. What is she?
Yeah. She's an Afrikaner. She's an Afrikaner.
She's extremely liberal, my friend.
That's not the best example.
Aha! I caught you. Ha.
you did, Carla. You floored me there.
I'm like, hold
She's
on
an
here.
Afrikaner. And there's actually some videos of her on YouTube speaking Afrikaans, the language. Yeah.
Yeah, well, she's. I don't know what to think of her yet. I don't get that one, but okay.
Yeah, but I can also say that Charlize is not in the same political boat as you would put the people of Orania, the run-of-the-mill person of Orania, but necessarily be a big Charlize fan.
So let me ask you this: when it comes to the blacks in South Africa, does it matter if you speak English or Afrikaans? They just want you dead. Am I right?
I wouldn't say that. That's the thing. You get your extremists, such as Julius Malema and so forth. Jacob Zuma now said over the last 2 days that everything, all the problems of Africa started the moment the first white settlers set foot on the African continent in 1652. Now that's people, what they say are leading towards polarization in South Africa. However, you can't say what the extremists say as run-of-the-mill, of the point of view of the run-of-the-mill South African, black South African, because we do, as I mentioned earlier, many as an example, we do have a good relationship with some moderate black South Africans as well. So I don't think it's down to a racial thing, a black against white thing necessarily. I think it comes down to a moderate view and a fundamentalist point of view.
But my point is this: when you have Zuma, knucklehead, and you got Malema, another knucklehead, and they're saying whites are evil. They're not discriminating against who's English and who's Afrikaan. They're just saying the color. So therefore, they're not going to ask you to open up and speak. Let me see what language you're speaking. They're just going to kill you. I don't think they're giving the farmers a chance to speak. I don't think they're doing that. I think they're just murdering, killing, raping, and beating and burning. I don't think they're going to stop and ask. Well, let me ask you: are you a English-speaking African, or are you a African from Africa? I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. You're 100% correct. When it comes to violent crime, that doesn't discriminate along the language barrier. So,
and see that to me is a problem, because when I think of your country, and I'm make sure I'm trying to get the number right. If you're less than 5 million, and there's 50 million Africans, how do you survive? When in the squatter camps, there's I think, I'm not sure, I'm doing a roundabout, people, about 1 million in squatter camps, and 250,000 of them are children. How does one help thy neighbor? Like the Bible says, how do you help thy neighbor?
If I'm speaking from an Orania point of view, we have sub-economic housing projects in Orania, and we so we have units for single men, we have units for single women and some unmarried women, and then we also have family homes that is subsidized by the Orania City Council. So we make the houses, the units available to people at a very, very low rental price per month. There's no unemployment in Orania. I also mentioned that. So when a person comes to Orania, someone that has nowhere else to go, and he wishes to live in Orania, and we first have a talk, we have a panel that has a discussion with the person, making sure that he understands what Orania is about. And if he's winning, if he's game, and he's an able-bodied person, well, even if he's not, there's always something to do. We provide him with accommodation, we bring him in touch with an employer, and we insist that he pays rent from the first day of the month, just to keep that responsibility going, or rather just to teach him that responsibility. And then after a while, that person makes enough money to get his own place, to integrate into the community, and we can put someone else in his place as well. So we try to assist as many people as possible, but it's not possible for a small little community such as Orania to save everybody. However, as we grow, we will be able to provide more forms of sub-economic or subsidized housing to people. And I think the most important thing here, and that also is the difference between Orania's approach and the government's approach, is the governments, when they talk about social upliftment, they're talking about welfare grants, they're talking about handouts, and that's not what Orania is about. We provide people, yes, we provide them with housing at a much lower rate than they would pay for somewhere else, but they also have to work, and they also have to pay rent, and they are also kind of pushed in the direction to become independent, to get their own house, to set a family, and to integrate into the community completely.
Well, and that I find interesting, because you just said a lot, that you had no unemployment. I find that incredible.
We have no unemployment now. We have more than enough work in Orania. There's a lot of things that, especially in the agricultural sector, that we have mechanized because of a lack of laborers. It's actually a question of accommodation as well. So we have enough. Let me put it this way: our housing development projects, and this is private and state-run development, housing development that's being erected, is keeping the labor markets quite busy. A lot of houses being built and so forth, but we only have a certain amount of laborers to build the houses, and we only have a limited amount of houses to bring in new laborers. So it's a catch-22 situation.
Well, let me ask you this really quick. So,
no, sure.
My question to you then is this: all the people who are unemployed and that lives in squatter camps, why can't you get them to come work on the farms?
We try to bring as many people as possible, but if we bring them, we also want to provide them with better circumstances than they are currently living in. I don't want to bring him here in the city where he's living in right now. He does earn an income, whether I don't know how much, but he does earn an income, and he has a form of housing there. I don't want to bring him here, put him in even worse circumstances than he was in before. So that's the most important thing, is we want to uplift the people, give them better opportunities, better circumstances should we bring them here, and not worsen their situation.
I don't think, if they're living in a squatter camp, I don't think there's a worse situation, my friend. Because I've seen pictures of the squatter camps, and I did do a fundraiser with Sunet. We did my first Christmas fest for South Africa. Oh yeah, baby, bring it like it's hot. Our first annual, and we're going to do another every year. We'll do another one. I have a funny feeling it's going to grow on me. But I look forward, to doing it. Because it's just something that my heart just loves, and that's the Christmas time. But my point is, I don't think you can get any dire than living in a squatter camp in a tent, or those 10 homes when the bloody wind comes and blows them down. I don't think you can get any worse than that. Besides a tent.
Okay. I'm sorry, you mentioned Sunet now. I'm really glad that there's also people such as Sunet, taking on projects and taking responsibility for their fellow man in that regard.
Yes.
The thing is, what makes our circumstances a bit different is for example, in Pretoria and around Pretoria, where a lot of the squatter camps are situated. There's moderate temperatures, there's moderate weather. If I bring a lot of people to Orania now, they're going to have to stay in tents as well until we get the situation sorted out, but in tents as well for an unlimited period of time. undefined rather period of time in temperatures going way into the minus and rising as high as the 40s. There's a few challenges in that regard as well. So another thing that we also keep in mind is that we have employed a social worker now, we have employed a therapist, and there's also people coming to living in that grew up in those dire circumstances that bring certain dependency issues, dependency problems to Orania as well. Drug addiction, alcohol abuse, and so forth. And we want to be able to address those problems thoroughly so that it doesn't affect the rest of the community and to uplift those people as well. And we need to stay within our capacity in that regard as well.
What
for the
about
larger community's sake? Yeah.
Okay, so here's another question for you. I'm loaded today with some questions. What about the church? What is the church doing about the squatter camps? Your church in your community. I'm not talking about the rest of them. I'm talking about your particular community.
Yeah, our church, in the church in Orania, and there's more than one congregation in Orania. Their social projects focus mainly on the Orania community. There are churches, based in congregations based in the vicinity of those camps as well that are involved there. There's however another challenge, and that I experienced myself while living in Kemp. I went to the congregation there, an Afrikaner congregation, telling them about the situation in one of the squatter camps just outside of Cape Town, and I asked them if they would be willing to become involved. And they told me that no, it's not politically correct to get involved with the white squatter camp. And that was also the end of my attendance of that congregation. But unfortunately, South Africa, a lot of South Africans, whether it be churches or other organizations or movements or whatever, have become the victim of political correctness, which is quite unfortunate.
Okay. One other question, adoption. Now, I know that there are a lot of babies that need adoption. One of my things is close to my heart. What about adoption in your town, or the organization, or the, what do you call them, the place where they keep the baby, not foster care,
like an orphanage.
The orphanages, yes. Is anyone doing anything about the orphanages of these wonderful little children?
Carla, that has been mentioned as an idea before in Orania.
Well, good.
No, there hasn't been. It hasn't. There's not an orphanage in Orania. There hasn't been one erected, but it's not impossible that might come to be in the not too far distant future. It's a very realistic proposal that you made just now. It's something that has to be considered, and I do believe it is currently being considered, since it has been mentioned a while back. So I can't answer you on that. No, it's not a solution in place at the moment, but it's definitely something that we are under consideration.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on, and I want you to feel free to come back and bring updates, because I want to know what are you guys doing about the squatter camps and the babies. My heart is for the babies, of course. And the power plant, I definitely want to know what you're doing about the power plant, and see if you guys are going to get a hospital and a dentist, because I am curious on how far you're going to take this.
Definitely, Connor. We've come over 23 years, and by now we're in it for the long hauls. No, we're in it to win it. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate that. And remember, you have an invitation to come and visit anytime. Preferably you should come in the winter so we can go hunting.
Come in the winter? Are you okay? What kind of house is there? Like a chalet for me to live in?
Oh, definitely. No, we have a hotel, a 4-star. We have a 4-star hotel here. Unfortunately, we don't have a jacuzzi, but we have a spa and like a sauna and steam rooms and.
So do I get 1 week paid for?
Well, we'll make a plan, Carla. I can't speak on behalf of the hotel, but I've got a couple of friends there. I'll make a plan.
Oh, okay. I will talk to you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you, Carla.
letting us in on what you guys are doing. It really is helpful to see that now I know I can do it here in my country. And I just want to thank you. But get on that squatter camp, getting those people out in the fields and take care of those babies. And I will be seeing you. Thank you so much. And God bless you.
Thank you, Carla. To you and your entire team. Thank you very much.